So what is Foster Forsyth? This is the branding of the county's comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a guiding vision for future growth and development in Forsyth County. It's a community-based plan. It informs and guides rezoning decisions that are made by your Board of Commissioners. It also helps guide day-to-day land use decisions that are made by the county staff and their activities. It is a state of Georgia requirement that all local governments do maintain and update their comprehensive plan. I want to point out that at the basis of your plan, you have an overall vision statement. I'm not going to read it. It's on the screen. You also have these 6 overarching goals. This is the foundation of your plan. It was part of your last update. We're not looking to rework those as a part of this, but it's important to know that that kind of everything fits into that umbrella. Right now you're seeing the community character map. Lauren's going to speak a bit more about this later, but this is the map that drives those rezoning decisions. It's a very important part of the comprehensive plan, and it's one of the items we'll be refining. Again, this is a partial update. You'll see I've kind of already spoken to this, but the priorities, the implementation plan, and a 5-year work program of actions and initiatives that should be undertaken to implement the plan are really the focus. We are adding a broadband element. That's a new requirement of the state that all communities look at broadband. The state's decided that this is really important to have broadband access. The good news is that Forsyth is really well covered by this, so we don't expect there to be a ton of recommendations in that area. This is a community-driven plan. We are the planning team. We're helping bring our technical guidance to the table, but really we're being guided by what we're hearing from the community. So we have a steering committee that is guiding us. We've met with them once. We'll meet with them 2 more times at strategic points to help make sure we're incorporating public input, we're meeting the goals of the county. And then your voice as community members is also really important. What we hear in these public meetings we're having really does shape the outcome, and you should see the influence of it. It is a very iterative process, so you should see your input and how it's shaped the plan at the next round of meetings and in the final product. And if you're not seeing your input, we'll have a good reason of how that input was taken. If it was shaped in a different way, it may have to do with other input that we've heard along the way. At the end of the day, your Board of Commissioners will adopt the plan. That's the goal. They're responsible for implementing the plan. So our goal is to get to the end of the process and ask for the Board of Commissioners to adopt it. It will also go through your Planning Commission, and they will have a recommendation to move it forward. It's a really simple graphic of our process. We are in the listen phase. We started by doing an assessment of existing conditions and trends and looking at current plans of project that have been going on in the county. We'll highlight some of that here in a minute. But I do want to point out that our next phase will be coming back with initial preliminary suggestions of how the refinements to the plan that might be needed. This is a 12-month planning process. We're in December. We got started in September. I already mentioned that we're looking to at the end of the day for the Board of Commissioners to adopt the plan. The goal is for that to happen in August. The county doesn't actually have to adopt the plan until October, so there's some room at the end if there needs to be a little bit more dialogue to get it to the point of adoption. Community input, I've already mentioned, is really important. We have a project website that is a central hub of information for the project. If you'd like to receive project updates and haven't already, there's a form for you to sign up online. We will be sending out an email campaign on Friday. So if you sign up, you should see something in your inbox on Friday. Make sure you check your spam folder in case it falls in there, and make sure to flag it as non-spam. We have carried out several stakeholder interviews, and the one key thing I want to note here is that we have 3 rounds of public input. This is the kind of nearing the back end of the first round of public input. For each round, we're doing 2 in-person meetings, as well as a virtual meeting on Zoom, and then we'll have an online input period. So you'll see here on the screen the activities that are going on right now. We'll mention this again later, but there is a community survey that's live right now. It should take about 10 to 15 minutes to take. And we'll also be launching an online input period this Friday for people that were unable to attend the live meeting. So if you can help spread the word about that, that will be very helpful. I'm going to pause for a minute to make sure there hasn't been anything that's come up in the chat that might need to be addressed.
Nothing in the chat, but if anyone has anything that they'd like to ask, please feel free to enter it in there.
Okay, thanks, Caroline. So I'm going to jump us next into the next portion of the meeting, which is a little bit of background information. The reason that we're going through all of this is to help give you a good foundation from which to provide public input. So we want to update you on what's been going on over the last 5 years since the last major update of the plan. Right now, the population of Forsyth County is at 251,000. This is the population based on the 2020 census. So we're waiting for that census estimate of 2021. So you're probably bumped a little bit above this. It is important to note that you're the second fastest growing county in the state, and you all have been up there growing quickly for a while, but this is, we're going to continue to see a high pace of growth in Forsyth. You're also seeing your population begin to age. The average age is poking up a bit. The county is diversifying. You've seen your multiracial population increase by 600% over the last decade. You've also grown your Asian population to 18% of the total population, and the foreign-born population is at 17.5% of the total population. So this is all really valuable to think about as we think about future land use and development growth. Like, how are we going to accommodate a diversifying community? What might be some special needs that we should take into account? Forsyth County is a wealthy community, and the numbers here show it. This is comparing Forsyth to the rest of the 11 county Atlanta Regional Commission. The household income is roughly median household income is roughly 107,000. And we also have the highest percent of residents above age 25 with a bachelor's degree or higher. And you're also #1 county in the region for small businesses. The county has adopted an economic development strategy in 2019 in partnership with the Forsyth Chamber. The important note here is that as a part of that plan, the county and the chamber have agreed that these are the sectors that we want to target to bring into the county. So a couple of them you see here: advanced manufacturing, healthcare. As we're thinking about future growth and development, where do these jobs go? And who are the people that will work in them? So when you think about housing to support people that are working there, we also think about where the businesses are located. Does our land use plan accommodate these, or do we need to make some adjustments there? Housing is also an incredibly important element. So the population is at around 251,000 right now, and it's will continue to grow. Right now, you have a very high owner occupancy rate of 84%. There's also very relatively high median household income of around $340,000. So what does this mean? Kind of in comparison is that there also, along with it, comes with some affordability concerns. A nationwide metric for affordability is if you're spending more than 30% of your household income on housing costs, that you're cost burdened. And so we do have cost burdened residents in Forsyth County. Roughly 43% of renter population is cost burdened, and around 20% of homeowners with a mortgage are cost burdened based on that metric. So something to think about in terms of our housing stock and who's going to be able to live here in the future. I'm going to pause for a minute. I'm going to hand the lectern, the speaking role over to Lauren to talk a little bit about transportation, land use, and parks and rec.
Yeah. Thank you, Amanda. So we have looked a little bit at the Forsyth transportation plan. It was completed back in 2017, and the county is due to update it actually next year. So But this really dives in deep to the transportation issues and traffic issues in the county. And you can see that, you know, there's some short range to very long range projects included in that. But, you know, the projects that are identified in South Forsyth are basically looking to help, you know, mitigate the issues or the ongoing growth in that area, whereas North Forsyth, they can focus more on mitigating the issues of future growth. And you can see some of the recent investments with the Post Road widening, the Ronald Reagan Boulevard expansion, which is huge, and that's a very, you know, important project for the county, and then the Georgia 400 widening. So again, you know, just thinking about more mitigating traffic issues on the south end of the county, and then the north end planning for the future, and trying to make sure that transportation network can support the future development that's coming. Next slide, Amanda. Thanks. So again, this is an overall map of the various projects broken down, and you can see where this incorporates a lot of different the operations and safety, bicycle treatments, multi-use trails. You know, there's been a lot of trail development over time, but again, just thinking about providing better access and increase and improve the commuter traffic coming through the county, providing greater opportunities for nodal development through those road widening projects, and then the multi-use trails provide a great amenity throughout the county that could help increase those property values. We also looked at the Parks and Recreation Comprehensive Transportation Plan, and comprehensive plan. And as you can see, you know, the county already had a lot of parks and recreation opportunities at the time of the adoption, but there's been a lot of accomplishments over the past several years. Everyone we talk to says that, you know, Forsyth County does a great job in this area. So there has been some increased development around the county parks since 2016, and I think that speaks to how valuable having parks and recreation amenities are to a community. And then there are also, you know, opportunities for new developments in the northern end of the county, especially. There's a lot of undeveloped land near the parks and the trails that could lend itself to future, you know, hopefully sustainable and responsible development. Ansley?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll chime in real quick. This is Amanda speaking here. Let me turn my video back on. We did want to make note of the water and sewer plans in the county. That's also obviously important infrastructure. Most of the investment in water has been in the northern Forsyth County and surrounding Lake Lanier. When you look at the wastewater master plan, you see more emphasis on the western side of the county, as well as the southern portion. So when you look to future growth and development, we could expect that the northeast segment of the county would not see as much growth because we don't have as much wastewater infrastructure there in the area. And I noticed we do have a couple comments in the chat that it's probably good to pause on, and I'll start with the first one, and then I'll toss it over to Lauren. One of the questions is, please explain what is meant by cost burden. So cost burdened, but from a kind of an industry standard, is when people are spending more than 30% of their household income on housing costs. So that includes your mortgage or your rent, as well as utilities, insurance, and that looked at your overall income. If you're above 30%, you're considered cost burden. And Lauren, there's a question here. What does roadway reclamation mean to the mid-range transportation projects map? And we can back us up.
I'm actually going to toss that over to my colleague, Eric Lesher. He is more savvy on the transportation planning side. So Eric, would you like to answer that?
Quite frankly, I think that's probably a question best answered by someone who's more familiar with that specific effort. I don't think we have obviously folks from the county on tonight, but I don't think we have folks in public works or transportation. So that's the type of thing I think we can look into that further and get an answer to that.
Thanks, Eric. So I'm going to bump us back to where we were. Let Lauren keep talking a little bit more about land use.
Sure. Sure. So this is an existing land use map, and you can see, there's still a lot of agricultural land on the northern end of the county, but there's also really residential scattered throughout, with, of course, the most intense or most of the residential development being on the southern end of the county, with some commercial coming online. And so, there's been some recent commercial and mixed-use developments that have helped to expand the county's tax base and starting to balance out the land use mix in the county. But there was a little bit of a dip in residential development, but now we've seen the county is seeing an uptick in those types of rezoning cases and permitting coming through. So there is an uptick on the residential side as well. This provides a bit of an explanation about the land use policy in the county. So as Amanda mentioned earlier, the future development map and the comprehensive plan really looks at, what's the vision for long-term land use and helps to drive some of those decisions that are made when it comes to zoning, and helps to inform those decisions and the recommendations from staff, as well as the decisions by the Planning Commission and as well as the County Commission. But zoning districts are included within the development code, within the county's UDO, and those regulate more closely the actual use and development. And then there's also overlay districts, which provide some more specific regulations to some areas in the county. And again, this is just a kind of a nice graphic that we created to help sort of explain what the comprehensive plan does in terms of the character areas, and then the nodes that provide sort of a center within each character area that may be appropriate for some more intense development. There's different layers of those and different intensities. And then you've got, again, the Unified Development Code with the overlay districts, zoning districts, and then you also have the tree ordinance and mass grading ordinances that have been approved since the last comp plan.
Thanks, Lauren. And I think I'll just add one quick note onto that. So, when we're thinking about this comprehensive plan update, people already have vested property, right? So they've got whatever they're zoned and whatever's vested in that. What this comprehensive plan can do is help inform rezoning, like if somebody wants to change the zoning of their property, and guide whether that would be appropriate in certain areas or not. And also if there's a problem with something in a zoning code, like there's not enough spacing between commercial uses and residential, that's the type of thing that we could identify here and then have an action item for it. So just to give a little bit more, what is this plan going to do at the end of the day? So we've talked through a lot already, but we, really the comprehensive plan is this umbrella document where we're trying to make sure that everything is aligning in terms of, from a land use standpoint, thinking about infrastructure investments, about transportation, about where our parks are, how does that all fold in together with our economic development strategy, and do we have the right land use policy in place to support these things and work together with these things? At the beginning, I mentioned that you have an overarching vision and 6 overarching goals for future growth and development. You'll see those on the left. We just want to point out that beyond the comprehensive plan, there's these other initiatives in the county that are really implementing a lot of the goals that you all have set as a community. And again, those goals on the left were a result of the last major overhaul of the comprehensive plan, which happened in 2017. So this is, again, is a minor update. We're just refining the plan and not really looking to redo that. But I want to point out that those projects are implementing a lot of the goals that are laid out. We also wanted to briefly pause on this slide. We had this at meetings, the in-person meetings going to pause here for a moment so y'all can read some of it. Your staff at the county and your elected officials really do follow the comprehensive plan. There were several initiatives laid out in the last update. These are some of the things that have been implemented. I'll mention a couple: tree ordinance, a new tree ordinance, the soil erosion and sedimentation control ordinance were implemented countywide. Residential design standards were adopted for Res 2, Res 3, and Res 4. You have a new overlay in Coal Mountain, and there's several other things that we've alluded to some of them in the presentation, but I want y'all to know that the input you provide today and your community members really does shape what the county does.